Hello and welcome to another video. I'm Cece. Today I want to talk MLMs again, and I want to specifically talk about what is, in my opinion, one of the worst MLMs, definitely one of the most creepy and cult-like, and that is Young Living. So Young Living is an essential oils multi-level marketing company, and we can't talk about Young Living without talking about their founder, Gary Young. He actually passed away just a few years ago in 2018, and he was a really great guy, just really honest, hardworking, really a stand-up dude. Just kidding. I know you're not supposed to speak ill of the dead, but this guy was a piece of work. He was doing illegal, unethical, super sketchy, immoral things for pretty much his entire life. This is a lot, so I'm gonna try and just kind of hit the highlights here, but there's some pretty sinister stuff that went on with Gary Young and with Young Living, and I feel like it provides a lot of important context, so here we go. Gary Young started experimenting with essential oils, or so he claims, in 1974 when he was 24 years old. He claims that at this time he was almost completely paralyzed in a logging accident and almost lost his life. He said that he was in a coma for 3 weeks and then in intensive care for 4 months. But then he was able to heal himself using essential oils. Sure, Jan. The kind of weird thing about this is, one, I don't think you can heal. I've never heard of someone healing themselves from paralysis using essential oils. And also there's no documentation anywhere of that very lengthy hospital stay. In 1980, when he was 30 years old, he went to go get a degree in therapeutic massage. Now he claims that he finished this degree and had this qualification, but the owner of the school he went to says he never really did any of the work, barely went to class, and skipped out of the program without finishing, still owing a bunch of tuition money. Nevertheless, he left this school, and despite not having a degree or any credentials, he opened a medical clinic in Spokane, I'm not sure, in Spokane, Washington. He was eventually arrested for practicing medicine without a license, and his clinic was shut down, but he ended up only spending 30 days in prison. In 1982, Gary's then wife, Donna Young, was pregnant, and he talks her into giving birth in a hot tub at his clinic. He obviously did not have any qualifications as a midwife or doctor or anything like that. And during this water birth, he proceeds to then hold the newborn baby underwater for nearly an hour, and she drowned. Somehow he was never charged or really held accountable in any way for the death of this baby, even though a coroner did confirm that she was born healthy and she would have otherwise been fine. But he was only charged ultimately once again with practicing medicine without a license, and he ended up spending 60 days in prison and getting a year's probation for this. In 1985, Gary earned a master's degree in nutrition and later a doctorate in naturopathy, or so he claimed. Both of these degrees turned out to be from Bernardine University, which was eventually busted and shut down by the Nevada Supreme Court because it was a diploma mill selling fake degrees. In 1986, Gary Young has the nerve to once again open another fake medical clinic, this time in Tijuana, Mexico. He claimed that he could cure lupus, cancer, and various other ailments, but of course he was just basically scamming people out of huge sums of money. His treatments cost anywhere from $6,000 to $10,000. This scam was eventually found out and exposed after a couple of reporters decided to take blood samples from a cat and a chicken and send them to Gary's clinic to be tested. The blood samples came back as diagnosed with all these ailments, and Gary was recommending that they get treatment at his clinic. Of course, it was all made up, and the blood samples were never even tested because it would have shown that they weren't even human blood. So this clinic is eventually shut down, and in 1988, Gary is arrested once again for practicing medicine without a license. This is in Fife, Washington. It is his third arrest, and he's sentenced to only 60 days probation. So if we fast forward to 1992, Gary is living in Utah with his third wife, Mary Young. This is where he officially founded Young Living. Later that same year, Gary was arrested again for practicing medicine without a license. And because of this, as well as some erratic behavior and misuse of company funds for personal reasons, he was fired from Young Living. 2 days after being fired, he shows up at the Young Living office wielding an axe, attempting to break into the locked office. He threatened several employees, including his own son. He pushed his wife down the stairs and had to be escorted out by police. All the victims were able to get restraining orders against him. A few years later, in 1996, his children and his own mother testified that he had been physically and verbally abusive to them. In 1999, Young Living was sent its first warning letter from the Food and Drug Administration, the FDA, about false health claims they were making. In 2000, Gary opens another clinic, this time in Springfield, Utah, and this time he decides to employ an actual physician. However, this physician was not board certified. He had actually been stripped of his license after he was caught prescribing huge amounts of narcotics for his mistress, which caused her eventual death. At this clinic, Gary was running basically the same scam. He was charging huge amounts of money for blood tests, diagnosing people with various ailments, and then recommending these really expensive regimes of his own essential oil blends. In the meantime, between 2000 and 2004, Young Living is issued its second, third, fourth, and fifth warning letters from the FDA. In 2005, Gary shuts his clinic in Utah down for good, and he moves to Ecuador. If we fast forward to 2015, Young Living supplements are actually tested by an independent consumer protection agency and found to contain extremely high amounts of lead. Following this, Gary stepped down as CEO of the company and his wife Mary took his place. And a few years later, in 2018, Gary passed away. So obviously he was not what I would call a great guy. There were a lot of problems with him and with his company and with the way he ran it. But one of the biggest problems with Young Living, and one of the things they have repeatedly gotten in trouble for, is the various unfounded claims they've made about what their essential oils can do for people's health and what ailments they can cure or prevent. And it's easy to see where this started with Gary, and in the early days of Young Living, he made all kinds of false claims about his own credentials and about what his oils could do for people and what kind of ailments they could treat. This is really dangerous because it can and does lead to a lot of people refusing or not seeking out medical treatment when it's needed because they've been told that oils can cure and serve as treatments for things that they just can't do. I will say it seems like the past few years Young Living has been better about not making these false claims, but it's not out of any sort of altruism or the goodness of their hearts. It's because they've literally had to. They've been sent many warning letters from the FDA. The most recent was in 2014, and I just want to read a few excerpts from it. Your consultants promote many of your Young Living essential oil products for conditions such as, but not limited to, viral infections, including Ebola, Parkinson's disease, autism, diabetes, hypertension, cancer, insomnia, heart disease, PTSD, dementia, and multiple sclerosis. And then they include a few examples of consultants' websites and direct quotes of the claims they have made, so I'm just going to read a few of them. Viruses, including Ebola, are no match for Young Living essential oils. Top of my list is thieves. Thieves is highly antimicrobial. It could help against Ebola. Ebola virus cannot live in the presence of cinnamon bark nor oregano. Regular use of rosemary essential oil may help prevent diseases associated with free radicals, including cancer and heart disease. Rosemary research in regards to Alzheimer's disease showed aromatherapy as a potential treatment for the cognitive impairments caused by dementia. Rosemary has antimicrobial and antiseptic qualities that may help eliminate eczema and dermatitis. I did not know that rosemary oil was just a cure-all for everything from cancer to heart disease to eczema. It honestly just goes on and on and on. I'm not going to read the whole letter, but I will put the link to the letter on the FDA website if you want to check it out. I mean, do essential oils smell nice? Yes. Can they help relax you a little when you're going to sleep or if you had a stressful day? Yeah. Can they cure cancer or Ebola? No. Are you kidding me? This is insane. Especially in a country like the US where healthcare is not accessible. So many people don't have it. So many people don't have health insurance, or they do have health insurance, but they can't afford the copay. Presenting this as an alternative when people might be desperate for treatments is so dangerous and it's just so wrong. Young Living and their distributors also often recommend ingesting essential oils either for medicinal purposes or for use in cooking or baking, despite the fact that they are not FDA approved for consumption. Not only are there no proven benefits to ingesting them, they can actually be dangerous to ingest. If you Google, is it safe to ingest essential oils? Google is like, no, don't do that. And then if you dig a little bit deeper, you will find a few sources that honestly seem questionable to me that are like, yeah, if you do it carefully and in small amounts, but most say just don't do it. Because of these completely unverified health claims, as well as Gary Young's just insane lies, and the popularity of Young Living, this company is, in my opinion, a big contributor to the rise of the anti-science movement in the US. You will see a lot of overlap between people who are into essential oils and people who are anti-vax, which is of course tied to the larger anti-science movement. This includes anti-vaxxers, climate change deniers, anti-maskers now. Just this pervasive attitude of like, you can't trust scientists, they have an agenda. All that to say that I believe that Young Living and other essential oil companies are a big part of perpetuating these ideas. On top of all of this, as if it weren't bad enough, Young Living is, of course, a multi-level marketing company. If you're watching this, you probably know about MLMs and hate them with a burning passion like I do. But in case you don't know what an MLM is, it's basically a legal pyramid scheme. You can watch my first video I did on MLMs. I will link it down below, kind of explaining the structure and what's wrong with them. But they are basically businesses that have the structure of a pyramid scheme, but exploit the legal loophole that if you're selling a product, it's not technically a pyramid scheme. So on top of everything else that we've already talked about, the very structure of this company is extremely unethical and predatory and unsustainable, and most of their consultants end up losing money or going into debt. I decided to look up Young Living's income disclosure statistics. These can be a little confusing because most MLM companies make them kind of hard to read on purpose, but I'll break it down. And I was a little shocked to see that Young Living is even worse than a lot of other MLMs. Please keep in mind also that the numbers I'm about to read are not factoring in expenses and startup costs, which are quite expensive. So this is gross income, not net income, and the consultant's net income is even less than what is shown in this chart. The starter kit alone that you have to purchase to become a Young Living distributor is between $100 and $260, and then there are monthly minimums of inventory that you have to purchase if you want to be eligible to earn any money at all. So in 2019, 89.6% of consultants were at the level distributor, which is the first level, and they earn an average of $3 a year pre-expenses. So they are pretty far in the negative there. Another 7.3% were at the level star and earned an average of $251. Another 1.9% were at the level senior star and earned an average of $1,477. So altogether, those three levels make up 98.8% of active distributors who are earning on average $1,477 a year pre-expenses and pre-tax. Most of them are earning much, much less than that. Compare that to the top less than 1% of distributors who are at the top level, Royal Crown Diamond, who earned an average of $1,645,275 last year. Imagine earning that kind of money knowingly off of the backs and the misfortune of other people. It just makes me mad every time I talk about it, and that's why I want to kind of do my part and educate myself and try to educate others about MLMs, because they are predatory and they do a really, really good job of disguising themselves as a good opportunity and roping people in. I think awareness is key, and I think if more people know about them, more people can avoid them or hopefully get their friends and family to avoid them. Anyway, in April of 2019, a class action lawsuit was brought against Young Living, alleging that it is a cult-like pyramid scheme that is preying upon its distributors. This lawsuit alleges that Young Living is an illegal pyramid scheme because the bulk of distributors' income comes from recruiting rather than from making sales. The lawsuit is ongoing, so there is no ruling there yet or no decision. Young Living also has this kind of weird habit of getting celebrities to promote their oils, I guess to make them seem more legitimate. Celebrities who have endorsed them, it's a weird mixture. The Property Brothers, Ellen Pompeo from Grey's Anatomy, and Gwyneth Paltrow, which her own company and the stuff she endorses could honestly be its own separate video. So no surprise there. One of their big celebrity endorsers is Alexa Vega from Spy Kids. She posts about them on Instagram a ton, and it looks like she's actually a Young Living distributor because she has an Insta story highlight where she is like asking people to join her and her husband's team. But then the Young Living website also lists her and her husband as brand ambassadors. So it's a little unclear if they are regular distributors or if they are like brand ambassadors who are paid by Young Living to post about it. Kind of sketch though, especially because if she is a paid partner, she's not disclosing it. Sponsored posts legally have to be disclosed, which is why you see influencers posting with hashtag sponsored or hashtag ad. But let's just say for the sake of argument that she is an independent distributor. She's not paid by them other than her commission for selling and recruiting. As a celebrity and someone with an existing following, I don't doubt it would be pretty easy to actually be one of the few people who is doing pretty well in this business. And that's because the main thing you have to do to make money is to recruit. So when you're a famous actress and you have thousands or millions of followers, people probably are more inclined to trust your recommendations. People might want to sign up to work for you just to have a chance to talk to you. So I don't doubt that if she is a distributor, she's one of the few who's actually doing okay. But the fact of the matter is, even if you are one of the quote success stories in an MLM, your success has come at the expense of others and their loss, their debt, and their failure. And that's kind of part of the responsibility of having a platform. I would hope someone with her kind of platform and her kind of reach would do research on a company before promoting them, but it seems that Alexa and her husband apparently either don't know or don't care. Another kind of pseudo celebrity who is really into Young Living is Audrey Roloff, who is the wife of Jeremy Roloff, who was on Little People Big World on TLC. Audrey is a Young Living distributor, and she has kind of taken their fame from the TV show and used it to catapult herself into the Christian mommy blogging MLM space online. She has a second Instagram page called More Than Oils, which is fully dedicated to Young Living. She advises people to ingest oils in various ways and to use them on their children. She says that she uses them on her children, which is questionable advice at best. And again, she has a bit of a following from the TV show, so it's just disappointing to see her misusing her platform, in my opinion, and promoting such an unethical company. Anyway, that is it for me today, guys. I hope that you found this interesting or informative or thought-provoking or any of the above. If you did like this, feel free to subscribe for more anti-MLM content as well as whatever else I feel like talking about. We are moving in the next few weeks, so my upload schedule may be a little all over the place. It's always all over the place, who am I kidding? But anyway, stay tuned and I will catch you in the next one.